so happy to have you here. My friends, because you understand the mission. And what is the mission? I need you to go look under every single sofa, look in your kid's toolbox, go in your garage, lift up your rug, find those voters and get them to the polls. We have done it before. We got Reverend Warnock over the line. Yes. Do it again. Yes. And it is now my distinct honor to present the leadership in the Senate that Democrats present to our country and to our world. Yes. Senator Jon Ossoff. Yes.
Hello, Brunswick. Hello, Glynn County. Hello, Coastal Georgia. Great to be here. I am so grateful to Olga. I am grateful to the whole leadership of the County Democratic Party here and every county party represented at this event. It is an honor to be with you. I'm grateful for the work you're doing, not just right now, but the work you've done over the last decade to help move Georgia forward and to help move America forward. Those of you who are assembled here, all of us as a team, we've made a profound difference for our state, for our nation, and for the world in the last few years. And right now, we're called upon to do the same again. I want to recognize Patty Hewitt. I didn't see Patty on the way in. Where's Patty? Oh, I'm sorry, Patty. I'm sorry, Patty. Patty, come here. Join me in giving it up for your candidate for Georgia's first congressional district, Patty Hewitt. You know, Patty, when I saw her about 6 months ago, it was at an event in Savannah. Yes. And we were talking about what it's going to take to unseat Congressman Carter. And I want you to know that there are candidates running for U.S. House districts across the state of Georgia. There are candidates running for state legislative districts across the state of Georgia. And not all of them have put together the kind of campaign with the kind of credibility and resources and dedication and sophistication that you have. And I believe in you, and that's why I've been behind you and I stay behind you. And thank you so much for running. Thank you, Pat. Thank you. Now look, we all know what it feels like to be the center of the political universe in Georgia. We've been there nonstop for the last 5 years. Yeah. And so let me begin by thanking all of you for everything that you did 4 years ago to send me and Raphael to the United States Senate. Because we could not have done it without Glynn County, and we couldn't have done it without Coastal Georgia. And we know that. And I thank you not because of what it meant for me or my career, but because of what it meant for the country. And remember that they told us, Patty, at the time that there was no way.
That's right. Can't be done.
The whole year, 2020, we told them that Joe Biden could win the state. We told them that we could win 2 Senate seats in the state. And nobody who makes their money polling and on punditry and prediction believed it. But you all believed it. Yes. You all believed it. And we won not just because of hope. We won through hard work. We won through dedication. We won by knocking on doors and making phone calls and writing postcards and organizing every generation. We won by building a coalition that stretched across party lines. We won by building a coalition that stretched across racial lines. We won by building a coalition that raised up voices that had not been heard for a generation in every region of Georgia: rural Georgia, suburban Georgia, urban Georgia, the interior of the state, the coast, the agricultural heartland. We did something extraordinary together. And right now, just as the eyes of the nation were on Georgia then, the eyes of the nation are on us right now. Right now. And it's easy when we're so head down in our screens and filled with apprehension about what might come in the next 10 days to lose sight of the fact that We gathered here right now, focused on what we're focused on. We are living in and part of history at this very moment. This is a pivotal moment for our republic. This is a moment that will have a decisive impact on which direction this country moves. Not just next year, but for decades to come. We right now are living history, and the beautiful thing, the empowering thing, is that we have the power to shape history. We have the power to make history right now. Right now.
Yes.
Brunswick, are you ready to make history?
Yes.
Because we've done it before, we know how it feels to make history. We know how it feels to shatter expectations. When no one across the country believed we could win, you picked me up and you picked Raphael up and you carried us on your shoulders. You did that.
Yes, we did.
And right now, the choice the country faces, it is deeper than Democrats versus Republicans. It's more profound than Democrats versus Republicans. It's deeper even than the crucial policy debates that we wage in this country. This is a question about the character of our nation.
Yes.
Right.
Amen.
Donald Trump is fundamentally unfit for the presidency. He cannot be trusted to wield that kind of power.
That's right.
And that's not speculation because the man has bad manners. We've seen what he does with power, and we've seen the lengths he'll go to hold on to power.
Facts.
Take yourself back to January 5th. That was the day of the runoff in Georgia, January 5th. That was the day that the state of Georgia, with our complicated history that we all know so well, the heart of the old Confederacy, the cradle of a civil rights movement, against the odds, sent the young Jewish son of an immigrant and a black pastor who holds Dr. King's pulpit. Extraordinary history making. A statement about how the South has progressed over decades. But it was 18 hours later. In fact, let me tell you about the next morning, the morning of January 6th. I woke up a little tired. It had been a long couple of years. We'd all been working hard together. My wife got home from work. She had worked an overnight shift that night at the hospital. She's an OBGYN up in Atlanta. First thing that happened that morning, the president-elect called, Joe Biden called, to thank, not me, to thank Georgia for what we had done.
Wow.
Next thing, President Obama called to thank Georgia for what he had done. Next thing, I turned on the news. And it pains me that this is something that I can say and must say. But the defeated President of the United States had raised a mob on the National Mall that had marched to and sacked the United States Capitol.
Truth.
It's called treason.
My
It
goodness,
is. Absolute
what has
treason.
happened to the GOP that they are so enthralled to this man? Rest assured that my colleagues in Congress from his party, they will not restrain him. They will not constrain him. Nor will he have anybody around him in the White House this time to do so. They assaulted the Capitol. Do you remember the phone call that he made
Yeah.
to our Secretary of State?
Yes.
You remember that phone call?
Yes.
11,000 votes.
Fine. He called up the chief election official in a state where he'd been defeated and badgered and threatened him to, quote, find exactly the number of votes that he needed to win in a state he'd lost. This is deeper than Democrats versus Republicans. This is about the Constitution. This is about the rule of law. This is about core democratic principles, not Democrats like the Democratic Party principles, small d democratic principles, the principles of democracy. A pivotal choice that we face. And the contrast between these two candidates, it must be the starkest contrast in the history of modern American politics.
Facts.
In the history of the world.
In the history.
In Kamala Harris, we have a former prosecutor, United States Senator, Vice President, who is principled, who is tough, who is experienced. How has she wielded her power as vice president? Well, let me tell you, I've seen it up close. She is the vice president, so she is the presiding officer and the tie-breaking vote in the United States Senate. She helped shepherd to passage the bipartisan infrastructure laws, the most significant investment in America's infrastructure since the Eisenhower administration.
There you go. There you go. Good work.
It's pulling lead pipes out of our drinking water system so kids don't drink poison water in Georgia. It's expanding broadband internet to communities that lack it. It's upgrading every seaport, every airport in the state of Georgia. It's making our country more prosperous, safer, more competitive. She cast the tie-breaking vote to cap the cost of insulin for seniors on Medicare at $35 a month. In a state, and Patty, you know this, where in the heat of summer, seniors are deciding whether to cut their pills in half or cut the AC off.
Yeah.
Facts.
And paying hundreds and hundreds of dollars per month for insulin. This is life-changing, life-saving public policy. Wouldn't have happened without Georgia, by the way. We delivered the governing majority to get that done.
That's what we do.
She cast a tie-breaking vote, and by the way, I was just in Valdosta this morning. They got hammered by Helene. Hammered. I don't think there's a time in the history of Lowndes County, Georgia, where 3 times in 18 months they've had hurricane-force straight-line winds.
Yeah.
These tropical storms are becoming more and more severe, more and more frequent, and this area is at severe risk of flooding and storm surge and wind damage and power outage, life-threatening danger. Kamala Harris cast the tie-breaking vote to pass the most significant effort to fight climate change in human history.
Woo!
And only because Georgia empowered us to do it.
That's what we do.
Facts.
Donald Trump talked a lot about infrastructure, did nothing. Donald Trump overturned Roe v. Wade so that now women in Georgia are being forced
Don't boo.
vote. Give this man a microphone. So that women in Georgia are being forced to continue with non-viable and high-risk pregnancies against their will. And then he tried to seize power after he lost it. Kamala Harris fights for ordinary people. Donald Trump fights only for himself. So this is the choice that we face. And I'm here to thank you for all the work you've done and to urge you forward to do everything that we can for the next 10 days. Here's how election night is going to go. Can you guys hear me all the way in the back, by the way? Good. Here's how election night's going to go. You're going to be sitting on a couch. You're going to be, well, Patty's not. You're going to be flipping through the channels, apprehensive. And you're going to see talking heads on television. And behind them is going to be a big map of Georgia. Okay, and they're going to they're going to say, mark my words, they're going to say, and it's all coming down to Georgia. And then that talking head is going to point down here and say, let's take a look at what's happening in Glynn County, Georgia. They're going to say, this is a bellwether county to see how the vice president is performing her. What are the latest numbers? It's not just going to come down to Georgia. It's going to come down to this part of Georgia. And again, there's still time on the clock in this game. You still have the power. We still have the power to get out the vote. But the clock is ticking.
Oh, yes, it is.
So that's election night. Now let's talk about the next morning. Well, you've already lived through it once.
Exactly.
We don't have to imagine how it feels to wake up with Donald Trump as the president-elect of the United States and to ask ourselves, oh, what didn't I do that I could have done? Let's not ask ourselves that question. Let's do everything in our power to win. Brunswick, are you ready to work? Yes! Brunswick, are you ready to win? Yes! Let's get out there and do it. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, guys.
Hey everybody, listen up. Hey everybody, we are going to do a photo line. You don't have to worry about that. We're going to do a photo line. I just need everyone to line up on that edge of the side.